Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, we're going bowling in Memphis. And when the portal opens, will it be a frenzy or a slow build? We discuss next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you, fresh from a trip to Fort Worth. He's been all over the map this weekend, folks, and the action does not stop as we kick off a brand new week. We will get into a bowl selection for Texas Tech. It is the Liberty Bowl. It's a Southwest Conference reunion as Arkansas is going to be on the other side. We'll get into what went down in Fort Worth as Grant McCasland and the Red Raiders are close, but without cigars, they fall to the Aggies. But got to kick off the conversation, Chris, within the portal zone. Depending upon when you're taking this episode in, maybe the action has already started to crank out. Maybe it is about to, but either way, going to be an interesting week, Chris, not only given what could happen with your roster in-house, but obviously some additions every team is out there hoping to make as well. So can't wait to see how it's all going to turn out for Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders. What are you expecting as far as some initial movement? You think it'll be busy either on Tech's front or maybe a newcomer kind of front, or could it be kind of a slow build?
Yeah, that part is a good question. I think you'll see some flurry here early, like on visits and interest, and I think it's just funny how there's so many things that come with college football in 2024 and in recent years. But you get because it used to be like when you were recruited, it's like, hey man, I got an offer from this school, and then I've got a final list, and then I'm committed, and then I've signed. But now you get, I intend to enter the portal, or I just got an offer. It's like you're recruited every year. Or then some guys are like Jalen Conyers last night. It's like, for those asking, I'm playing in the bowl game. I mean, like that's just kind of part of 2024. And it's very out there. There's a lot of announcements. Hey, I'm playing in the bowl game. Hey, I've heard I'm in the portal, or I intend to get in the portal. Hey, I'm pulling my name out of the portal. Or, hey, I'm going to go visit this school when I'm in the portal, or whatever. I mean, it's just, it's a lot. So I expect some visits. I expect, and you just don't know. There's no way to know. You could ask us, and I would love to be able to sit here and nail it down on how this will play out. There's no way to know this. You go in with a plan. We've talked about your wishes as far as like what positions you need to fill. And I think Joey will be the first one to tell you with who they are bringing in the portal. In most cases, these are we need them to not only step in and play, but we think these players are good enough to help us win a league championship. Very minimum, contend for it. And there may come a time where you're attacking depth from that standpoint. I don't know if you're going into this deal saying, hey, man, I'm trying to find a guy with multi-years, or if it's 1 year, or if they care, as long as they can help them win and win right now kind of deal. And so with that, it's going to be all about the big people, man. That's really where I think your focus is, and what kind of work you get done in trying to find quality big people is going to determine what kind of year you have, and if you have a chance to win the league championship next year. That's just a fact. And it's not just one side of the ball. Yes, we've talked a lot of offensive line, but I think the same can be said about the defensive line as well. But you got a lot going on with your football program, a lot of movement, a lot of influx, and all those things. But at some level, DBs, and some level receivers, and some level a running back, and at some level a kicker, maybe a quarterback. Maybe you get hit more with some more portal announcements off your own roster, and it adjusts the number. But at the very minimum, I think you're looking to bring in here 5 to 7 linemen, 3-ish on each side of the ball.
That's some heavy lifting.
Yeah, well,
heavy lifting, figuratively and literally. Were you surprised to see? I think since you and I have last talked, this has come about. We hadn't had an opportunity to discuss it. But speaking of big people, Ty Buchanan sounds like he intends to enter his name into the transfer portal. Was a guy that factored in largely for Texas Tech up front. Was that a surprise to you? Is it an indication or a sign of something that I need explained to me as far as how this roster is going to be sort of manipulated this offseason, or what did you make of his intention?
Yeah, I think Caden Carr was another one too.
Yeah.
That was one of your kind of heralded signees from a couple years ago. So my thought on Buchanan, he's probably the one name I've seen get into the portal that played for you and played, I guess meaning, and Jordan Brown to a certain extent too. I think. I think the thing about Ty is, one, I would offer up, I don't know if that's a guarantee that he will leave. Just because you intend to get in the portal, and even if you get into the portal, doesn't mean you can't return back. So that we'll see. I think if you're Ty Buchanan, you're thinking, well, there's a lot of chatter about them bringing in linemen. So am I about to get replaced? And maybe this needs to just play out a bit. Not real sure, but that one I would put at 50-50. And there's some other guys that I would not rule out. One, either them playing in the bowl game on your team, even if they are in the portal. And then two, I wouldn't, if they pivoted and, kind of like Cameron Valdez did last year. Yep. Got in the portal and did all that, and then he was a Red Raider this year, while he was healthy, obviously. But the Buchanan one, and that if he were to leave, okay, if he were to do, okay, I'm not coming back here. Does that move your number from we need 3 guys now to we need 4? Are we now forced to just say, okay, well, we're going to just have to rely on some of these younger guys now? So something will happen if Buchanan does in fact leave, because not only did he play for you, he could potentially start or he's a depth or insurance piece. He's one that I just wouldn't say for certain that they said, hey man, it's not working out here, good luck to you. I don't know if I buy that, but the rest of them, you may go, hey man, if you want to play more, probably not going to happen here. But Buchanan is one that, I think that you not that you're promising him a starting spot, is that was a bit tricky at times with him or without him or whatever, but you'd like to have more of those guys, not less.
Yeah, obviously Hudson was the headline getter so far as that group goes, but Buchanan, to me, as far as those worthy of attention, was probably right next on that list. I'm curious.
I've already forgotten about Micah Hudson. That was like a week ago.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of time. We ain't even got to the window being open yet.
I know, that's right.
All these cycles. But yeah, I'm happy to remind anyone of anybody else that we need reminding of. Chris, over the weekend, you had a retweet that started a brush fire. I don't know if you noticed this or not. You retweeted a sentiment from Cody Campbell as it related to, this was a tweet from at the end, like, I don't know, a month ago or something. As it relates to buying an offensive line, he said he will when he responded. I think you were just kind of sending it out as a reminder that maybe this is the kind of approach we're getting into this offseason. I'm going to go Brian Windhorse here, put my fingers in the air and say, you retweeted that. Why was that? Was there anything on your radar that your Locked On Texas Tech fam family needs to know about?
There are some things going on, I think, and folks that you are focused. And here's going to be the thing what's tricky about talking about offensive linemen, for example. There's not many household names out there. You know, people are going to go off of a PFF grade or go off of a star ranking or where they came from or whatever. And we're not going to really know if, you know, anybody is like going to be just a home run. I mean, you thought you'd done well last year with the guys you brought in, hit on a few, didn't hit on a few, the end. It's kind of the way it goes with big people. I simply was just reminding that I can tell you that will be a primary focus, and it will be a primary focus as it relates to this portal attack. You know,
Yeah.
Maybe Cody specifically. And I know there's a lot of folks that were interested in there was a certain because I think this is what you're hinting at, so I was laughing. It was a certain freshman 5-star that was set to sign with an SEC school, had not signed yet, and all that. There were some other things going on too. Here's something else I want to point out too about what you have to weigh in about like what you're bringing in here.
First, today's episode brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. And this year, you can skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with our promo code COLLEGE. Use our promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at only $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with our promo code COLLEGE and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with our promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply.
Here's something else I want to point out too about what you have to weigh in about like what you're bringing in here. You have to make the decision, and that's why it's impossible to know like how this is going to all work out. Like, what are you going to end up with at the end of the day when next semester starts and it's like our portal work is done for now, or like this is what we feel like large in part we're going to go to war with next year. And there's another cycle in the spring, but for the most part, this is really when the heavy lifting is going to get done. Do you want to go get a big time freshman that you know you're ready to hand the reins over to? Do you want to, and then maybe be in a bind like because they didn't play enough, or you promise them something you can't give them as far as like rev share, or I don't know, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Or do you try to go with a more established player that's played a lot of snaps and I feel like, okay, I know what I'm getting here, or is it something in between that? That's because there's only so many spots, there's only so much money, and then you're all the while you're trying to play the game on, well, who can we get? Or can we outbid this school? Do we have any connection to this kid? This kid's got some baggage. I mean, so it's a juggle. But I guess I'm just trying to make sure that everybody knew you're one of your head guys is very serious about the boys up front on the offensive side specifically. But I think that you're as serious on the defensive side too. But it just, until you get that offensive line fixed, man, it's just going to be a bit dicey. And I think that honestly the same can be said about the defensive line. But
yeah, I agree.
You and I talked about that when that tweet was originally sent, and we both appreciated. We got a kick out of it. We also appreciated how clean his response was, because there was a lot said in what he was replying to, and he could have he could have responded a variety of different ways, but it was just like, I will. I mean, put it on a shirt, man. I mean, so yeah.
There you go. That's not a bad idea. All right, we're just getting started, obviously, with the Portal Frenzy. So just wanted to kind of set the deck as we kick off the week, and I'm sure we'll have plenty to process and chop up as the week goes along. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you miss none of that. Before we leave the land of football, Chris, Liberty Bowl coming up December 27th from Memphis, Tennessee. It's Texas Tech and Arkansas. And I got to tell you, among some of those options or alternatives that I saw most discussed, this is a scenario I'm pretty happy with. I think when you get into this realm of bowl games, we all know you want to be in the playoff, you want to be in more interesting postseason settings. But when you get into this kind of category of bowl game, to me, in large part, it's just about the opponent. Can you get fan bases together that care about what their team is doing at this point in the year? If it's not in the playoff, can you have a great environment for the team? And I think for the most part, you will check that box. And I'm hoping Texas Tech, like heck, winds up on the right side of 9 wins. So there's plenty out there still for the Red Raiders. I thought Joey McGuire also brought up an interesting point about a 9th win and how that could position you preseason-wise next year, and how much those preseason rankings or that radar, really can impact a year. But nonetheless, I was fairly happy with the bowl matchup. How did it sit with you?
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling me that you could have gone to the Metroplex and played one of the service academies, or you're going to Phoenix and playing Rutgers, I was sign me up on something like this, because I do. I think there's history there. Obviously, you had a home and home with these guys, and I think 2014 and 2015, each team won the road game. I remember Cliff Kingsbury even had some things to say to then Arkansas head coach Brett Bielema after that game was over, which I appreciated. That was and that little 2-game series right there, that home and home, was fairly spicy, because the one when that was in Lubbock, you wore some throwback uniforms, and I think Matt Wallerstedt was let go a day or so after that game was played. A bit chaotic situation for you there, and then you go to Fayetteville, and you really, I think, controlled most of that game and all that. But and you've got another series with them coming up, assuming it stays this way, but like it's about 5 or 6 years away. There's a home and home on the books. I think at the end of this decade, maybe 30-31, 29-30, something like that. So I knew that they were, on the horizon. It's still a ways away, but it's we all hate maroon around here, right? It doesn't matter if it's A&M, if it's Arkansas, if it's Oklahoma. We're not fans of maroon. So last time you were there, you played another maroon school in Mississippi State. We'll get into this part as the week goes along, but there's a lot of memory, I guess, from the first bowl there in Memphis, and with what was going on with your football program, who you played. And it's just kind of, I don't know. It's not like necessarily full circle, but yeah, I guess I was happy about that, as opposed to some of the other alternatives I gave you. And now I guess I'm mainly concerned with who's playing for you, who's playing for Arkansas. What does all this look like? Because everybody's going to deal with some sort of roster situation at one level or another going into these bowl games. It's just the way it's going to go, and that part is I'm curious about. Namely, Taj Brooks. I would guess and ask aloud. So, but yeah, this is a familiar opponent, and I think one you can sink your teeth into. They're not great. They did beat Tennessee, and Tennessee is a playoff team. You beat Arizona State. Arizona State's a playoff team, but they've kind of middled around and just haven't really, got much traction. But
they lost to Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and that's one of the last. I think Oklahoma State won that game, and then they went to beat Tulsa the next weekend. That's the last time Oklahoma State's won. Right. So, and that was a shootout. And I think Arkansas's problem this year, for the most part, has been offense. They just have a hard time, but they've got a triplets, if you will. They've got a quarterback that's put up some numbers, and a running back that's pretty decent, and a 1,000-yard receiver. So, But I think the receiver is a senior. So again, is he opt-out candidate? I don't know, but we'll kind of sink our teeth into this one. But yeah, I personally liked it too because it was a bit removed from the Christmas holidays, so at least I could try to spend some time with the old family. But because that's what I was not a fan of, the whole Phoenix option, because it's the day after Christmas, and I was just like, I'm just gonna have to eat it, man. I'm just gonna miss all the holidays with all the family. That's just part of it when you're in sports, I guess, though. So, but yeah, I mean, this one was, I guess, pleasing to me.
I think when you get in the certain kind of range where you could be facing a group of 5 team, not that appealing to you if you're the bigger fan base. Somebody like Rutgers, what type of environment is that fan base going to create in Phoenix? The Nebraska option in Phoenix could have been interesting because I think their fans are going to really care. They typically do anyway, but they hadn't been to a bowl game since 2016, so probably even more so for them. And then you begin to hear about the Liberty Bowl and SEC opponents, and you're thinking, all right, there's going to be some juice in the building at least, which will give you a feel that's a little bit different than some of those other options. But yeah, stick with us this week as we figure out what kind of roster you're even going to take to Memphis and who's going to be on that. Maybe some obvious omissions, maybe some that come that we're not quite anticipating rolling into the week. So you never know which way it'll go, but we'll be here to process that when those things do come to pass. Before we get out of here, Chris, we got to switch gears and hit the hardwood. You are hot off a trip to Fort Worth for Red Raiders and Aggies from Dickies Arena, 72-67. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And right now, new customers can bet only $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and a whole lot more, all in one place. So when you get a hunch, a gut instinct in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a gut feeling again, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You are hot off a trip to Fort Worth for Red Raiders and Aggies from Dickies Arena, 72-67. The final score, Texas Tech falls to the Aggies. They do it without JT Toppin, and there were plenty of moments where you had an opportunity, obviously, to take a lead, extend a lead, could never quite get that done. Had a few runs that made it a great game, really, and even had some chances down to the final few seconds, but just not enough there for you. I don't feel like in the front court, man. A&M was tough there and on the boards, and obviously that's a portion of the game where it really stands out to you that Toppin was in sweats and not available because he could have impacted that situation. But tough one to swallow. Some good, some bad, but at the end of the day, you take an L. And what was, I guess, your biggest remaining opportunity to add something to your non-conference resume?
Yeah, I will start out with saying it was an unbelievable atmosphere. It was pretty much a full building. I said that on the broadcast last night. There's just not many opponents that you're going to draw that kind of crowd and interest with, period. And it felt like a Big 12 tournament game or something, kind of semi-neutral, although you had a lot more fans there than they did. And that's what I think Grant had envisioned when they try to get this game scheduled and why you wanted a home and home. And I think he's looking to try to continue something with A&M. I think he feels like it just benefits the state. It benefits both schools and all that. It is frustrating, though, that you kind of go about this shorthanded a bit. I think JT would love to get another crack at these guys with JT Toppin. Your leading scorer and your leading rebounder. There's no way to know. I mean, heck, I would say to you, I wish that you could replay it and get a normal game from Darion Williams and just see if, because you're right there, but you're just not beating a team like this with a good guard like Wade Taylor if you turn it over twice as much as the opponent does. Yeah, that's not a recipe for success. In some ways, you hit some threes late to kind of make the score close. Although you had chances, but it's crazy that the score was as close as it is, knowing that you had twice as many turnovers. I think offensive rebounds, they had twice as many offensive rebounds as you did. And then they had a couple of guys come off the bench that, just went crazy. Jace Carter, namely. Jace Carter for A&M had come into the game making 2 3-pointers the entire season. And you look up and he's 3 for 3 from behind the arc in the first half. You're like, what is going on? That's sports. And you kind of, Kevin Overton was kind of countering. And if not for Overton, you'd have been in a lot of trouble. But and I think to your point, you just got 2 games. Yeah. So all that you're going to put on your resume here in the non-conference is a win over DePaul at home and a win over Syracuse up in Brooklyn. That's it. And you've got a loss against St. Joe's and a loss against the Aggies. Nothing else is really going to move the needle for you. And you just hope the win over DePaul will have any teeth to it, but the wheels could fall off of those guys. You're just not real sure what that will look like. Dang, it sucks losing to those guys, man.
Yeah, and I don't think, obviously, the defense is quite at the level to which, we've become accustomed under Grant McCasland, and they're going to have to be. And offensively, it just doesn't seem – there have been a few days where I don't know what you're running necessarily. I don't know if it's disjointed or just frustrating to see, because it kind of feels like on occasion there's – I don't know. It's easier said than done, but yeah, there's like some standing around, settling for this shot or that shot. It's got to be highly frustrating, I'm sure, for McCasland.
Yeah. So I think you're still trying to figure this out. I think that guys are being asked to do more in certain cases than what they did last year. And you're only going to go, like, prime example, Kerwin Walton just was a non-factor in this game. Let's see. So I'm clear here. Make sure. Kerwin played 17 minutes. He did not score, and he had 1 rebound, and he attempted 1 shot in 17 minutes. He just simply has to do more for you on defense, scoring it. If it can't just be about the 3-point shot with somebody like Kerwin Walton. It just can't. I think you're asking Elijah Hawkins to do some things, and at times you see flashes, and other times he struggles and he gets himself into trouble. And, having as many turnovers as he does points, not exactly ideal when he scores 7 points. Yep. But, because, how much are you giving up going the other way? And when you play good teams – and you are not careful and don't take care of the ball, it leads to – because it compounds it. And you're going to get on the road in the Big 12, and those plays are going to equal runouts going the other way, and then the crowd gets into it, and the next thing you know, you've given up an 8-0, 10-0 run. And that is just throwing another log on the fire when you already got problems. So I would love to see – having seen what this looked like with JT in the lineup, but that's not what you had. And so Darion has to do a bit more. I thought Chance played a really good game.
Yeah, he's had back-to-back 22 and 23, DePaul and A&M. He's had some really nice nights.
Yeah, and I think he's playing really good basketball right now, maybe some of the best of his career, but you need some help. And Overton, I think, has done some fun things because he's a spark off the bench. But this is not going to be a team that's got a ton of margin for error. I think at times things for them are hard, and things for them are hard to get done, and you're going to have to kind of grind, and you're still trying to figure out what are all the ways we can get things done. But I do think, to their credit, you're right in this thing, and you've not taken care of the ball. You did hit some threes late. You made 12 in the game. But you got hammered on the glass, especially on the offensive glass. Like, look at the second chance point category, 15-7 in favor of, A&M. And I think Federico and EY are trying. But yeah, this was a tough matchup because that's what A&M wants to do, is they just want to turn this thing. It's very similar to like how Houston is going to play. It's very similar to how like West Virginia, when Huggins was coaching them, is going to play. And you're going to see teams like this that aren't into the finesse thing. They don't want to get up and down. They just want to grind you. But the slower the game got, the harder it got for you, especially on the offensive end. And that's where, you miss a guard like you had last year, like a Pop Isaacs or a Joe Toussaint that would get into the lane, maybe get to the free throw line. And so that's what it's going to take from guys like Christian Anderson and, Elijah Hawkins and things like that. But again, I'll echo that sentiment again. It sucks losing those guys. I hadn't seen those white jumpsuits and heard that war hymn in a minute, but it makes you feel a certain kind of way. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I am numbing my pain this evening. You got two more before you open up Big 12 play New Year's Eve against Central Florida. So no rest for the weary. December 16th is where they will next be back in action from the USA as they host
a week from today.
Roberts. Yep. All right, Chris, appreciate the time, man. Know you're running on fumes, so thanks for squeezing in some time to kick off what will be a busy week to follow what was a busy week. So appreciate you all being out there. And, Chris, thank you. Enjoyed it, and we'll see you for the next one.
Absolutely. Love seeing all the folks that pay attention to this podcast and watch it, listen it, whatever, at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth. I appreciate you all saying something and supporting what Cowan and I do here. And I had several said, man, you guys have been busy and, whatever. No, I should be thanking you. Cowan should be thanking you. Thank you for consuming what we're doing here. Otherwise we aren't here and there's nothing going on. So,
we're consumed by it. We enjoy some company to be consumed by it also.
Yes. But enjoy your Monday out there, everybody. Guns up, going bowling. Hoops is a week away, and now we go portaling. So
that's right.
We'll see. Kind of. Just remember, I will.
These are the days and weeks that build your 2025. So obviously some important stuff happening in these upcoming days, weeks, and months. And we'll be here to consider all of the above for better or worse. So thank you for being out there to do it with us as well. Again, get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Shout out to the Everydayers. Shout out to the Matador Mobsters. You want to become one of those. Hit the show notes, find the link for a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.